All right, another build completed. This is a very fun build. I really enjoyed building it. This is the NZXT case, one of my favorite cases of all time. I really like the white, and I also like the black with the red on the inside. So this build is designed for somebody that's actually going to be doing a lot of editing and video work, and so we made sure that we went with the Ryzen 7 3700X. That's around a $300 CPU. And the graphics card, we chose to go with a 2060. Yes, there's more expensive graphics cards out there that you can grab, but the 2060 works great. Even if you are a gamer, you can run Modern Warfare, for instance, at about 100 FPS on full 1080p settings. So that's really, really good. The B550M motherboard, this is the great chipset because let's say 3 or 4 years down the road, you want to upgrade to the Zen 3 Ryzen CPU, you can. With the B550, even a B520 and a B450 motherboard, you can do it. But obviously, we didn't go to the crazy X570 board. You don't need that for even average to heavy gaming use. So we went with the nice B550 motherboard, and it's really going to be good. So enjoy the build video and leave any questions you have in the comments. It was a good one. Okay, so it's time for another build here. And in this build, we're going to be using the Ryzen 7 3700X with the WD Black edition, which is a 500 gigabyte M.2 card, 3400 read-write speeds. We have a 650 watt power supply with black cables, which is nice. An extra case fan, the B550 Pro VDH motherboard, the NZXT 510 case, which we'll review as we build. And we have 32 gigabytes of RAM, as well as 2 terabytes of Seagate hard drive space, and of course the RTX 2060. So looking forward to put all this together. This is going to be a powerful performance build that you can use for video editing, gaming, etc. So we look forward to putting this together. Okay, to begin the first part of this installation, we have the motherboard out already. Now, a quick recap of the motherboard is it's designed as it's a B550 chipset motherboard. The chipset actually rests right here. This is a heatsink to keep it cool. Up here you have another heatsink to basically make sure that the voltages to the board are going in correctly and that the board's not getting too hot. I've already put in my RAM. The RAM is 32 gigabytes of RAM, and I put them in the 2 slots here as indicated on the board. It's telling you where to put them first because they want to make sure that the each RAM slot is going to a memory channel on the actual computer chip. Now the Ryzen computer chip you can see here I've installed on the bottom left-hand corner right here. It's a little bit hard to see, but right there's a yellow triangle that corresponds to another yellow triangle on the socket that I basically just fitted in there and close this bracket to lock it in so that that's in there nice and tight. And up here you have your M.2. This is going to be your 500 gigabytes of main storage, the fastest storage on the board for your main applications. And I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down in a moment with the heatsink, which is actually right here. This comes with the heatsink, as you see right here. This goes basically on top. I'm going to pull off that little blue sticker on the bottom to keep that thing cool. And that's going right there. So the only thing I have left to do is put that heatsink on, and then of course put the fan on top of the computer chip, and we should be good to go with the motherboard and be ready to put it into the case. So that's the next step here. Okay, so the fan's clipped on. You can see for this specific fan, you have these base plates that these metal brackets fit onto the bottom here, even on this side back here. And what I did is I then pulled this lever to tighten it all. Sorry, this lever here was then used to tighten it all down. So now this is good to go. The motherboard's ready to be put into the case, and we're on for step 2. Okay, so the next thing I've done is I've actually mounted your hard drive. So these have screws in it. They basically plop this in, screw it on the sides. Every hard drive has this. I did have to pop this cage out. The back of your case has that cage in there. You simply have to put the case from the bottom. You can basically unscrew the screws, take out the cage, mount this on top. So this hard drive cage, I mean, you can hold up to 1, 2, 3 hard drives into it, which is really nice. And on the back of the cage, you have enough room for some more solid state drives here. And then at the front of the case, you have some room even here to put drives as well. These actually serve as screw holes if you wanted to. So a lot of room for storage, but I went ahead and put that on the back right there, ready to be, cabled up once I'm ready. All right, so now it's time for me to get the motherboard into here. So what I've already done on the left side over here, you see that I put the I/O shield in. That's what this is right here. You can see it's just a snap-in that represents all the output ports and input ports for the motherboard. It snaps in on the side. And what you can see here, there's a little guide telling you where you need to put the standoffs. The board actually stands a little bit off the cage. And you can see I just put them at every place that it says a U. because a U in this case stands for a micro ATX board, which is what yours is. So I have all those locations, they're standard off, and now I just simply got to put the board on top, and it fits right in. And now it's snug on there. I just basically put all these little screws in at all the little standoff locations that it's asking for. So this is snug on the case, and now what I'm going to do is basically prepare for your graphics card to go in here. So I'm going to go in and take out these little expansion slots on the side so the graphics card can fit in right here on this PCIe x 16 graphics slot area. I must say this Gigabyte 2060 looks awesome. Dual fan. It's just got a nice plate on top. It's a really nice fit, and on the side you can see how many ports you got. 3 display ports, 1 HDMI. So I'm going to basically pop it in right here. It's going to fit right in. This little bronze part's going to fit right in where all the pins go. It's going to stick out these 2 slots right here. Okay, so what you can see is now tied in there. It's all nice and snug, actually, if I just move it. Now below it, you see 2 other PCIe Express slots, right? These 2 right here. Basically, those are for a sound card or a, you don't need this, but like if you don't have Wi-Fi on your computer, you can put Wi-Fi on. So there's different reasons you might want to use another PCIe Express slot, more USB ports, things like that. So those are there available to you, and if you do ever end up needing them or using them, just pop out the little expansion slots on the left side. You can use those as well, but they're right there beneath it. Okay, now what I've done is I've actually taken your back. These all here are your cables from the front panel that connect your power, your USB, your USB-C, and your audio. Those are all these cables right here. Before I even put the power supply in, I went ahead and just made sure I connected them. So this guy right here is connecting your USB-C. This down here is actually, this blue one here is connecting your USB. That's your power, your reset, etc. And this over here is your audio. So they're actually easy to find and where to put. You just have to basically make sure you line all the pins up and they're labeled really well. So that's actually not a hard part to do. So I went ahead and got all those in there for you. And now I'll go ahead and put the power supply in to start routing the wires for your graphics card, your actual motherboard, etc. Okay, so I got your power supply in. Now let me just describe real quick. You see it looks like it's upside down. Well, that's because on the bottom of your case, you actually have a little bit of room here and a dust filter that comes out right here at the bottom, just like that. So the reason we did this is because the fan is going to be intaking air from the bottom, cold air, and spitting it out right here. And obviously we'll have the fan on the bottom to do that, because if it's at the top, it'd be sucking in the hot air from the computer. So that's how I put the fan in. Now I routed your CPU line for the 8-pin up this way. The 24-pin, which is this big thick cable here, went around this way. We'll show you on the front in a moment. And on the back here, you can see that I've already plugged in your SATA cable into the SATA power cable into your hard drive. The only one I haven't plugged in here is the actual one that connects to the motherboard, and that's because I want to first boot up Windows on the actual M.2 drive before I do this. So I'll put that in a second, but it is powered, which is nice. And you can see here you actually have room for 2 more drives, so you can just kind of use the same cable and plug them into the drives as you add them right here, which is really nice. But your power supply comes with more SATA ports and some of these old timer ports right here that you might not use. So you should have plenty of power to work with your machine. So it's awesome. Now onto the front, you can see here I've plugged in the 24-pin power connector right there, the 8-pin up here, and the PCIe. You can see on here it says PCIe. That is your PCIe graphics card port. So I'm going to do some cable management to clean it up, but we are basically good to go, except for the fact that I want to get your fans in here as well. So next up is get all the fans in here so that you have good airflow in your case. Okay, now it's time for the moment of truth, because what you can see is I have all my fan headers. So there's a fan header right here. Sorry, I'll just use my finger. These 2 are fan headers that I plug my fans into. This one right here is for the front. And on my exhaust, I think I might switch these around a little bit, because I actually think I might want to have more intake than outtake. But let's see if this works first. But anyway, we're going to bring your intake fans from this side, coming in and getting out from this exhaust fan here. And I know I have one up here, but I might move this guy over to this side instead, so we have more intake of air coming in. Everything seems to be plugged in, so we're going to do an initial boot. Let's see if this works here. So I'm going to press the power button. Nothing plugged yet. Let me make sure it's turned on. Now I'll do the power button. Now it's working. There we go. So what you can see is your fan does have RGB. That's what this is here. It's linked to an RGB port up here at the top. I really like it. It's very nice touch to the build. But it looks like all the fans are running. These 2 are running just fine. But this one over here is not. I wonder why. I got to figure that out. See why that one's not working. Maybe I'll move that fan header somewhere. But what you can see over here is I have my computer ready to register with the graphics card. As long as the graphics card goes, I should see the BIOS appear here in a moment. I'm going to let it just boot up a little bit and let it think. Okay, now I got them all working. I just had to move for some reason I had to put this fan header up here instead of the one down here. So I just rotated them and it works now. So this is bringing in cold air. I'm going to move this fan for the top over here for the intake, I think. And this is exhaust. Everything is looking nice. And what you can see over here is that it's actually registering everything. So you have your 7300X8 core. You have 32 gigabytes of RAM. So we are looking good. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to press F1 to go into setup. And let's see how this goes. And now I'm in my BIOS. So the first thing I'm going to do in the BIOS is this XMP profile. I'm going to go to memory. And I'm just going to make sure that my DDR speed is what your DDR speed's asking for, which is 3600 megahertz, much more than the 2133 up there. So I'm going to just say XMP profile 1, so it indicates that that's the one we're going to use. And I should be good. And lastly, I'm going to actually go ahead and put on Windows. So what you'll see here is I have this Windows installer on my USB. You just download from the internet, you run it, and it automatically loads Windows, which I'll kind of show you, but it's pretty boring process actually. But you're up and running. Now I just got to install Windows onto your SSD, and then I'll plug into your hard drive so that that hard drive is formatted and recognized as well to use. All right, there we go. I went ahead and basically got two intake fans now at the front. Of course, your CPU fan spinning and the exhaust in the back. So looking good. All right, so now I have Windows installing, and I'm going to kind of skip through this, but I'm going to just say next. I do want to show you, though, where it's going to install onto your drive. I'm going to say you do not have a product key because we don't. If you want to buy one later, you can. You don't need one. We're going to go Windows 10 Home. Next. If you do buy a product key, make sure you get Windows 10 Home. You're going to accept these license terms. Custom install because we're doing it brand new. And here is the drive. Okay, so here's the drive that it's going to be going onto the 500 gigabyte M.2 drive that we have. So we're going to say next. Notice it was not finding the hard drive. It's because I have not installed the hard drive fully yet. I'm going to wait until Windows is installed before I format the hard drive. But everything else is going good. So we're going to basically let Windows go through. When you make your own account on here, you can go ahead and modify all your Windows settings as well. But we'll let Windows install and get all the drivers installed. And we should be good to go. All right, so now that we're in Windows, I'm going to go ahead and check for updates. And I did connect to my LAN already, so it's going to go crazy here. It's going to find a lot of updates. And although I already have all the drivers, let's see. Just get this going here. Oh, I need to fix my date and time. Oh, yeah, it's way off. All right, I'll do that real quick. There we go. Now that I fixed the date and time on the computer, we're now running all these updates. So we're going to let those run. Now I have on a USB all the drivers I need for, well, I have it on my other computer, but I have all the drivers I need. But let me show you where I'd go to find them. If I go to the internet and I type in the motherboard that I have, MSI B550 Pro VDH Wi-Fi. Go here. I just go to the website for it. Here it is. Now all I need to do is go to the support page up here, and all the driver information is right here. So all the, let me let this, hang on, it's black screening and coming back as all the drivers are installing. Okay, so all the Windows updates are going on. So driver, Windows 10 64. Basically, I'm going to install all of these. I'm not going to install this RAID driver because you're not actually going to use the RAID driver, but the chipset driver I'll download into the downloads folder. That's going, and the onboard VGA drivers you don't need because you're not going to be using the VGA drivers on the motherboard. You're going to be using the graphics card, but I will download the Bluetooth driver. I'll download this, save, download this, save, download this, save, Wi-Fi driver, Ethernet driver, save, and the audio driver as well. Download this and save. That's it. So I'm going to basically run all those drivers on the computer and get those downloaded. That's it. That's all you have to do for the drivers. Now, I'm also going to make sure I do GeForce Experience. So GeForce Experience, that's for your graphics card because you need that. That's going to basically automatically keep your drivers up to date. And I'll go ahead and get this downloaded as well. And I'll save that. So we now should be good. We have your drivers ready to go for the card in a second, and then all the other things. So basically, I'm going to just download all of those, and your computer really is going to be good to go. I might download a quick app to test, troubleshoot some games, but we are good to go. So you can see here I'm in GeForce. I'm going to just download the latest drivers, and what you can see though is that the tool, the software will recognize your graphics card right there, 2060. Yep. So we're just going to go ahead and run all of these driver updates and install them. Okay. Okay, so while the updates are running, I did plug in my SATA port. So this SATA port is going to plug into the back of the hard drive. I know there's a lot of cords right there. It's going to plug in right there in that slot. And on the front side of the board, you'll see that I've actually plugged in a SATA port right above the USB port, the one with the little silver thing coming out of it. That's where the SATA connector is. You have about 6 of them on this board. And so now that I'm rebooted into Windows, I have a lot of the Windows updates completed, and a lot of the drivers downloaded. I only have a few more to go. But once I get everything downloaded, and then I'll put that drive on there just to be safe. So making good progress. Okay, the last thing I'm going to do before I put that hard drive on there is I'm going to run a quick benchmark of your graphics card. This is called the Valley benchmark. I think this was made in 2013, but it's nice because I can compare this to other 2060 graphics cards. So I'm going to go on DirectX 11. We're going to go to preset of Extreme HD. And let's just run this, and we're going to run a benchmark of this in a moment. And while this is loading up, just so you know, I've checked all of your USB ports. They're all working. I just completed the benchmark. You can see that your average FPS, frames per second, was 97.4, score 4075. And if I come over here, you can compare that to other 2060s. And now this was obviously on a different processor, so naturally their score was a lot lower, a little bit lower than you. So you're obviously doing on par, if not better, than other 2060s out there, especially when you're using the Ryzen 7 3700X. All right, on the next note, I'm now shut down the computer, plugged in my SATA port here, so this now has full power and connection to the motherboard, and I will go ahead and restart my computer, and we will format that drive so you can use that as well on your computer. All right, so I'm going to just go ahead and go to disk management, and it's going to ask me to create and format hard disk partitions. So it's going to bring up disk management, and it did automatically find my disk 0. So let me just cancel this for a second. But see how it says it has like basically 2 gigabytes of, it's 2 gigabytes, 2,000 gigabytes of unallocated space. I can right click on that, initialize disk. That's what this brings up. Now I'm going to go ahead and keep GPT selected. This is more for modern computers. If you had an older computer, I'd go with MBR, which is the older technology. But we're going to go GPT, and I'm going to press OK. So now it's recognized as being online, and what I'll do is I'll click it, right-click it, and I'll say New Simple Volume. And basically now I'm formatting the drive. It's going to recognize the drive, its space, and essentially you'd only change this if you only want to use part of the drive. But we're going to use the whole drive. I'm going to say Next, and I'm going to give this the letter of H for a hard drive, but that's what that is right there, assign it a following letter. And these 2 other options I don't need to mess with. I'm going to say Next. I'm going to use NTFS because I'm on Windows. I'm going to use default. And I'll go ahead and call this 2 terabyte hard drive. That's what I'm going to call this as. And in general, you want to perform a quick format. And I will say Next. And finish. So it's formatting, and I should be able to access that now on my C drive. I'm sorry, on my computer. And now you can see it right here. 2 terabyte hard drive, nothing on it. So you are good to go. All right, one last thing. If you go to the support page of the motherboard website, you'll see this utility. Dragon Center, MSI Dragon Center, is actually what you can download to control your RGB lighting and other things on your motherboard. Just simple stuff that you can do. So I'm going to go ahead and install that on here, and I'll show you how to control your RGB lighting and how it affects your fan. So you can turn it off, you can keep it one color, etc. So here I am in Mystic Light. I'm going to select the fan, and what you can see over here, the fan I made red. Okay, and then, so basically I'm just going to go from red. Let me just change this to rainbow. Oh, I can't. I got to go to, let's see, I'm going to go to all sync here. Let me see if I apply that. There we go. Now it's working. Now it's back to rainbow. Oh, just went away again. There we go. Okay, so anyway, that's what this is. So all sync basically have everything doing the same. Your motherboard doesn't have any RGB, but the fan does. So anyway, you can come in here, you can go in here and go ahead and just turn it completely off if you wanted to. So this is where you come. I just want to make sure you saw this so you can edit the RGB of your own computer as you go forward. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. That is it for this build video. You can kind of see some pictures of how I did some cable management, pictures of the build itself. Just, it's a good experience, and yeah, I hope that this helped. And again, leave questions in the comments. Thanks.